skid plate here. I'm going to install this one.
It's free, what?
Alright, so we're under here. We're going to be installing this transmission skid plate on this double cab Tundra 05. There is a bolt there where this skid plate needs to go, so we're going to shoot that one off right now. There we go. The passenger side, we're going to be using the very back square one here, and then the one in the very front. They're going to line up with this one here and this one here. We're going to use these two bolts here. We're going to throw some Loctite on here, and we're going to put the bolts in from the bottom up, and then we're going to install the big washer, and then a lock washer, and then the nut will go on top of that. So the back one, carriage bolt, square cut, do the washer, do a lock nut or lock washer, and we'll put the nut on. On the passenger side, we're gonna use the bolt that we took off already and reinstall it with a little Loctite. Alright, with the back two lightly installed to hold this up in place, and we got the jack pushing up the front. It's already bottomed out underneath the cross member here, and as you can see from the side here, there is a slight gap there, and it's already bottomed out right here on the skid plate. Since it's I don't know if the skid row didn't bend this correctly, or the truck frames are slightly different between the double cabs and access cab. I have this one on my access cab, and I didn't have this issue here with this gap. So the shorter bolt here may be a little tricky to get on there. We're just going to install just the big washer here instead, and we have Loctite on there, and hopefully that's enough to keep it in place. And we got the nuts going on. Alright, got just enough threads, so once I tighten that up, it should pull this up. I may put a floor jack under here to help aid that in a little bit. We'll repeat the process for the other side. We're going to use the floor jack to push this up. You can see it's almost there. Alright, there it is, nice and flush. Should be able to get the bolt in there in place. Might even get a lock washer in there as well. We'll see. Washer. You can barely see it back there. But we got the washer, the lock washer, and the nut on. This back one here, we just reused the factory bolt since it's already a threaded hole in the frame. And so we're going to jack up this side as well. That way we can get the lock washer in there. We were able to get both the so we can get capture of it, both the washer and the lock washer and the nut back on. With the transfer case skid plate on, we got the long carriage bolts here. They'll go all the way through the frame and it'll come out the top. We're going to install a big washer here, lock nut or lock washer, and then the nut. And we'll do the same for the other side. Fortunately, we couldn't find one of the big washers that go on top. It looked like the kit was missing one, so we're just gonna have to use a regular washer at the top on the other side. See right there, it's the washer, lock washer, and the nut comes all the way through. Alright, got the big bolt here, or carriage bolt. This side has a smaller hole, so should be able to get away with just a regular washer here up top. Alright, we got a skid row transmission skid plate here in the middle, and then we have the cat guard side plates that we've attached one side already, and we're going to do the other side right now. So, skid plate, or the side plates here, you want the bigger end on the smaller side of the taper. So this would go in like so with it angled down, And there's already square cuts already in here, and they bolt up like that. Come with all the hardware necessary. Carriage bolts on the outside, the bolts and washer on the inside. So we got a washer, or a nut. And we are going to add Loctite to all these. Alright, so this is what this skid plate looks like fully installed. The wings on the side, tapered at the top, and ready to install it. Alright, so this is what the underside looks like without the covers. You can see the catalytic converters here are easily accessible by any thief. So we'll get the cover on here in a second. Alright, we got the transmission skid plate with the cat skid covers on the side under here now. And we're going to roll this in place. We're going to bolt up the front 2 bolts, and the back ones we have to drill 2 holes to be able to install the carriage bolts. Alright, we got the skid plate just about in place, and right under here is the frame. It's already threaded. It's an unused threaded bolt here, but we got to run a thread chaser through it to clean up threads before we can put any bolts through it. Alright, now that's cleaned up, we'll get the skid back in place. We'll use the supplied hardware with the lock washer. Should be able to bolt this in place now. There we go. Same with the other side. We gotta clean up the threads. We're using the existing threads here in the frame. So trying to get the front lined up before we can drill the holes in the rear, but it's hitting this what's that, drive line cover or guard for the heat. So let's see here. There it is. So it's hitting just at the bottom corner of it. We're just going to take a hammer and bend it in a little bit. It's very close, but we're just going to bend it out of the way instead of removing it. Alright, so after bending it out of the way, we'll move it back far enough, but we can't get it to go up high enough because that skid, or that cover, you can see it's still in the way. So we're either going to have to remove it or trim out a section out because we really want to keep this cover. Alright, decided to take the cover, the little heat shield off, and lob off a little corner of this of the metal right off of it. Hopefully that gives us the clearance we need. Alright, got the clearance we needed. I just had to trim off a little bit off the heat shield. So either trim off of this, or Skid Row could redesign theirs to make it fit all years, or you could have to trim your heat shield to fit. Alright, we got the front 2 bolted up. The rear back here takes 2 carriage bolts. The problem is the frame doesn't have holes for it, so we have this spaced out where we want it. The jack is holding this thing up in place for us. And what we're gonna do is use this as a guide to know where to drill the 2 holes to install the carriage bolts. My 3/8 drill bit, I'm gonna just start slow. Ooh! And you only have to drill through the bottom. The top already has an open hole for the bolt to go all the way through the cross member. Alright, got the carriage bolt with some Loctite on there. We're gonna get one side kind of started. Install a washer on top, lock washer on top of that one, and then the nut on top of all that. That's where it gets tricky. You gotta find a way to get your hand back under there. There you go. Alright, we also got the oil pan skid plate here. Since we're installing the entire full kit here, we've already lowered or taken the front bolts off the transmission cat skid on the front too, because this one has to get installed using they share the same holes for the back two. Alright, so we took the two bolts off the front of the transmission skid. The oil pan skid comes with longer ones here, so we'll just take the hardware, some of the hardware off, and we'll reuse it with the new hardware here. So we'll do the lock washer and a regular washer, and we'll do a blue Loctite on all the threads as well. Alright, we got the oil pan in place. We're overlapping the oil pan over or underneath the transmission cat skid. Gotta find the holes for this. Put it on a little loose and do the other side. Alright, now that the back ones are on the front here, you can see there's a nice little gap here. You can't use this oil pan skid with the factory skid plate. You have to use their front skid plate in order for to work with this. The other thing you also got to do is install these spacers that fit right in here. Not one of my favorite designs here. If you're not running a front skid and you're just installing the oil pan with no front skid, you'll use this bolt here with the washer, throw a little blue Loctite on there, and you'll just thread this one in and then you'll be done. But since we're installing the front skid as well, that's going to be installed underneath this, and it's all going to get sandwiched together. There we go. Alright, now that we got the front bolt holding the skid plate in, we gotta put the spacer in, and it overlaps underneath it, and we got the bolt here. We did a lock washer, a washer, and then the spacer, and then we'll just hand thread it in, get it held in place, and we'll do the same for the other side. Alright, we got the skid row front skid plate bolted up to the brute force fab front bumper here, and working our way down. It overlaps. We don't have any of the bolts tightened up yet. We'll do that here in a second. You can see it overlaps the oil pan skid here, and then as we work our way back down, it overlaps each step each time it moves its way down to another piece. Oil pan, we got the transmission skid here, and then from here we also had the cat skids that covers up the cats. And then from there, we also have the transfer case cross member or transfer case skid as well. It's bolted up. It's still just loosely installed. Everything's loosely installed right now. But this is the full skid for the Tundra double cab from front to transfer case. Alright, now as far as the oil change goes, the sides are opened up here, so you can't get to the oil filter. And in the front over here, they did leave an opening for the oil to drain. Not sure how well that's going to work. You can see the oil pan right, or the oil filter. Every time I've always loosened those, it always drains up onto this cross member here, and then it runs down. Alright, working our way down to the oil pan skid here. There is a diamond shaped hole here for the oil drain. We do have one of those valves that allows us to change the oil without having to remove the drain plug. We installed this just before putting these skids on, to help with future oil changes. And there is just enough room in here to, if you got small hands I guess, or skinny hands, should be able to barely get it in here. It's a little tight. Be able to reach in, pull the plug for the valve or the safety, and then flip the lever for the drain that's in there. And then we can also run a hose for this so it doesn't run down your arm when you open up that valve.